onto YouTube here, and we should be here momentarily.
Okay.
All right, and once again, we are live.
Okay. Jonathan, acting as the Secretary Pro Tem, would you please call the roll?
All right. Chair Margot Braille.
Present.
Present. Mr. Andre Dordia. I see you there, so I'll check his yes. Mr. John Ansel. Mayor Brenneman.
Here.
Mike Beitendijk.
Here.
Andrew Dutton.
Here.
Bob Grolinsky.
Here.
Dr. Knapik, Hillary Carroll, I'm sorry, Michael Tefts, we're Bonnie West, and see Michael Tefts. Thank you. Mr. Montgomery.
Here.
Mr. Reynolds. Mr. Sharon. Ms. Zimmerly.
Here.
Mr. Steiner.
Here.
And Mr. Troyer. And then support, myself here is ex officio. So great. Well, we are all here. We do have a quorum. And
Jonathan?
Yes, sir.
Jonathan, Mr. Crum is in for the WEDC.
Thank you very much for the reminder. We extend a warm welcome here for Mr. John Crum, who is the interim president for the Wayne Economic Development Council. WEDC typically fills the role here as vacant, today vacant vice president of the executive committee.
Very good.
Welcome, John.
Yes, welcome, John. We're very
Thank
happy
you.
to have you.
Yep.
Okay, in your packets were the meeting minutes of our April 22nd, 2021 meeting. Were there amendments or corrections to the minutes? If not, I'll accept a motion to accept them.
I move to accept the minutes of April 22nd.
Okay.
I'll
Is there a
second that
second?
whisper.
Okay.
How about now?
Okay.
How about hello?
Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Mr. Dorday, would you please review our financial documents for us, please?
Can you all hear me? Or am I quiet?
Well, you're a little quiet.
I don't understand. I have a new microphone too. I don't know why
Oh,
this is.
now you're fine. Now you're fine.
I'll put it there. Okay. So for the month of April, we had revenues of about $15,400, and we had expenditures of $23,122. The big deal there, unusual, was that we had Timken expenditures of $7,900 for the closure of about half a dozen wells, or the abandonment of about half a dozen monitoring wells. Next year we'll do this again, and that should be, I think we have about 6 more monitoring wells to abandon, and we'll end those next year. So then we'll be completely finished out of the monitoring business at that Timken. So anyway, we did have a net change in cash of just under $7,700 that we a net negative change. Year to date, we're at just under 64,000 revenue, just about 68,500 in expenditures, and so through April we spent about $30 more than we brought in, which leaves us with cash on hand of a little over $1 million, and we have, as you can see, escrowed amounts there, which leaves us cash available just over $750,000. The other item that I wanted people to note is that if you look under our assets, on our statement as assets, you will see under the category non-current assets, and then the subcategory inventory of development assets, the category land is now at $2.8 million. Thanks to the acquisition of the Piebald Farm, that added $2.3 million to that asset. So, and that's, we're going to still have activity in the coming months with the Piebald Farm and our income statement and balance sheet. Any questions?
Are there any questions? Comments? If not, may I have a motion to approve the financial report?
This is Steiner, so moved.
Okay,
I'd
is there a
second
second?
I'd
Thank
second
you, Mr.
Brenneman.
Mayor.
Mhm.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Well, and our next item of agenda is one that's really pretty exciting because the ad hoc committee chaired by Mr. Steiner has done a wonderful job reviewing the code of regulations, and then with the help of Mr. Scavelli has written our new code, which is in our packets. And I would love to entertain additional conversation about it, or shall we say, let's take a motion about it and then we'll discuss. Is there a motion to accept the amended document?
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there additional discussion to that which we have had? Mr. Steiner, would you like to speak briefly? Again, you've been so kind to do all this, but to review just generally some of the housekeeping and some of the other things you've done here, because it's really nice to have this tidied up.
I wish I knew Mr. Scavelli wasn't going to be here. I was counting on him for this information.
Oh,
In a nutshell, the committee kind of reviewed document to say, what are we doing that we shouldn't be doing? What should we be doing that we're not doing? And what things can we get rid of just because they're not impactful on our activities? So we've changed the language as respects some of the important procedural things that we need to do as an organization in terms of having an annual meeting, when we're going to have it, what things should occur in the course of that annual meeting. We've restructured the composition of the board and tried to address the fact that we have folks from varying organizations that will be represented, not in name, but by position. We got rid of one committee that, as far as I know, in my tenure, has never even functioned at all. Jonathan, I don't have my cheat sheet in front of me, but we kind of outlined most of those for the board before Mr. Scavelli actually drafted the document, which again, the committee reviewed, and all of us unanimously agreed with the way that Mr. Scavelli had presented the information, and therefore proposed to bring it to the board.
I think the only other thing that's completely new is the permission of the electronic communication, which is, of course, the world has changed a great deal and everybody needs that now, since that's basically how we communicate, at least for now. Thank you. Are there other questions, comments from anyone else? Well,
No,
if not,
appreciate
we have.
the efforts. I'm sorry,
Oh.
Margaret. Yeah, I
Yes.
appreciate the efforts of Mike Steiner and the team that worked on the update of this code of regulations. I think it was a good move.
Joel,
Well, they did
Joel
an
and
outstanding
Bob
job.
Reynolds were the two other members of the committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reynolds and Mr. Joel.
Absolutely. All right, then. We have a motion and a second to approve the amendments to our regulations. If we're ready to cast a vote, may we have a vote? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. And or raising your hands. Okay. Any opposed? Great. Thank you so much. That is a big job, and it's a wonderful one to have completed. All right. Our next item is I understand we need to have a motion to go into executive session. Is that correct, Jonathan?
Yes, please. This is to cover to discuss matters of incentive and in particular real estate acquisition or disposition.
Okay. We'll accept that as a motion, Jonathan. Is there a second?
Well, I don't think Jonathan can make the motion, but I will.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much. That's right, he can't.
Correct.
We treat him as a member, but he's not.
And I do appreciate it, but
He's like
Thank you.
the little kid that gets to sit at the big table at Thanksgiving, but really isn't a big kid, you know?
Oh,
now that I have my own, I legitimately am back at the little kids table for Thanksgiving these days.
all right, we have a legal motion from Mr. Beitendijk. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Thank you from Mr. Montgomery. Now, Jonathan, you are allowed, because you are so capable, to take the roll call vote, please.
All right. Chair Burrell,
Yes,
Mr. Dordia,
Yes.
Mr. Brenneman,
Yes.
Mr. Beitendijk,
Yes,
Mr. Dutton,
Yes,
Mr. Galinsky,
Yes.
Mr. Tefts,
yes.
Mr. Montgomery,
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds,
Yes.
Ms. Zimmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Steiner.
Yes.
All right, that's everybody. We'll go ahead and, as before, we'll do a breakout room, and we will momentarily be off the YouTube session here.
well, let's hope my phone can figure this one out.
Mhm.
Could be a surprise.
Could be.
We will try here. Might have an option to do this automatically. Oh, I can move everybody here, so hopefully this will help anybody on the phone here.
Hey, Jonathan, I wonder if they left the meeting instead of the breakout room. I almost clicked the wrong button.
It gave me a couple options there. So if they did, we will be able to readmit them.
So
It's
do
just
we
a-
want to talk about the application you received or not?
Yeah, I'd like to mention that our CRA application that.
And also what just got submitted, so it's public, is
Mhm.
the actual plans to Planning Commission and BZA.
Great.
So do you have a copy of that package or not?
I can pull that up here.
Because that would be cool to just show. There's some color renderings towards the end of that package.
Okay.
They're really cool looking.
If you can forgive me for 1 minute, I'm going to try to correct an issue here with our breakout room here. Oh, okay.
No, we're here. We didn't leave the meeting. We left the breakout. Well, the rest of us are on the regular thing. No, they're all in. That's all that's going on.
Thank you, everybody. Sorry for those technical difficulties. That's an
Okay,
error on my part, but we should automatically be moving anybody who's not with us here in the next 7, 6, 5 seconds here.
nicely done. I would accept a motion to authorize us to execute an agreement and an application to acquire property and request I-1 zoning pursuant to our City Council Ordinance 2021, and for the president to execute all documentation in connection therewith. And after we have the motion on the floor, I'd like for you to speak to it, Jonathan, please. May I have such a motion?
Margot, Mike Steiner, I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there a second? Okay, great. And Jonathan, would you explain what's happening here with this action?
Great, thank you. Yeah, so with this action, Wooster Growth would be accepting from council's request on ordinance 2020-21 passed May 17th to acquire for a sum of $10 approximately 14 acres of property that is adjacent to the Wooster Innovation Park, immediately south of the Melrose Water Tower, and then request I-1 zoning to incorporate that as part of our Wooster Innovation Park. That creates a total of approximately 58-acre site for development on the west side of the property. What the rezoning would do is this is a step down from the I-2 zoning, wanting to be sensitive to the residential development on the west side of the road. The I-1 zoning is more focused on office and limited industrial and would be targeted toward research and development. But additionally, the acquisition of the property allows us to take any heavy traffic that could originate from a project onto Old Airport Road, as opposed to having development access Melrose Drive, where again, we want to be sensitive to some of the residential development that is there and keep the industrial and any truck uses separated from that and buffered from that. So that would be the purpose of that particular item that we are looking at here.
Thank you. Are there questions, comments? Well, again, I believe that this reflects great foresight on behalf of our council and our city administration in looking at future economic growth while trying to ensure sensible growth in our communities. You're looking at protecting residential neighborhoods while you're also looking at providing new jobs and new economic avenues for our community. And it's very, very exciting, and you're to be much congratulated. If there are no further comments or questions, I'd entertain the vote. All in favor, please signify aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. Thank you to City Council. Other business, Jonathan.
So moving on, we do have one development that occurred earlier today. We received from Matthew Long a proposal for a downtown building that would be 16,000 square feet, 2-story. And this particular project is seeking 100% 12-year CRA tax exemption. It's a project that has been discussed over the past few years. That was something that we had hoped for, but over time, especially with the most recent pandemic, we were not sure if that project would be able to move forward or not. The city of Worcester has invested approximately $160,000 to construct a new public parking lot behind the structure. This is immediately east of Muddy's, which today most of us will know is a vacant parking lot with a building foundation slab on it. The project proposes a first floor retail tenant who would hire they would plan to hire 20 people. They would be willing to commit to 10 full-time equivalents. It would be a new business creation with a new restaurant, and I understand that the party looks forward to presenting a press release here in the next couple of days. They will, in the meantime, we do have an application that is not signed just yet, but we understand will be imminently signed for CRA. We have the figures together on that now and anticipate being able to make a forward presentation, a formal presentation to everybody here on that soon. Albeit at the moment it is not signed. Our hope would be to bring it to Worcester City School District, who would need to approve a project like this. And it is a $4.3 million investment in our community. It would see some significant apartment housing on the second floor. So it would create some new housing units for our community as well. With approval, we would be able to bring it forward to Worcester City Council. And right now we're just trying to finalize details so that we can queue up the timing for that, understanding that we have our last council meeting for the year, for this session is going to be June 21st. So that being said, we look forward to presenting that to you here next for our next meeting. We might be calling a special meeting for this particular project, depending upon people's schedules. So if so, we will try to provide as much advance notice as possible. But again, a very good thing for our downtown with a new 16,000 square foot building being proposed. So hope to get more details out on that soon.
Very exciting. And as you know, we're always willing to do a separate meeting. And when you have the school board and the and council, we'd rather get our little piece done early rather than keep someone else wait.
Fair enough. Well, we will definitely keep that in mind as we work through this and get the final application together. I do have one other bit of news, and that is that the state COVID mandates are expiring here on June 2nd. And so what that requires us as a public organization, we will no longer have the exemption that has permitted us to meet online. And so out of sensitivity to the fact that we are still in a pandemic era here, we do have the ability, if we are meeting in person, to do so perhaps in Worcester City Council chambers as opposed to our normal meeting room. We have some additional social distancing that we can perform there. But we wanted to give everybody a heads up on that the state will not allow us to conduct meetings virtually in the manner that we have been going forward here after the 2nd. That doesn't mean that we can't have people conference call in. It doesn't mean that we can't still use Zoom to connect. But what it does mean is that we do have to have a quorum of people a quorum of members present in one location. So
In corpus, so to speak.
yes, yes. So but we'll certainly, try to keep the options open here for folks who want to participate. Unfortunately, voting does not count unless that individual is present at the location. But that doesn't mean that we still can't have collaboration for folks who might not be able to be physically present. So we'll follow up with some additional details on that, but that's something else just to be aware of as we go into June here.
Great, thank you very much. Is there anything else to come before the body? Mr. Mayor, do you have anything else?
No, we're still thrilled that we are having so much interest in developmental land. It's really gratifying that we jumped in at the right time into this pool. So that's good. And the housing sector is definitely increasing its interest. And so we've had a lot of inquiries there. So this is going to be a really interesting year, but I think a very good year from the way everything's been trending so far.
Wonderful, very exciting. Anyone else have anything? If not, I'd accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Breitendijk.
Second.
Thank you for the second, Mr. Tefts, Dr. Tefts. We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.